Hey guys, this is Captain Phoenix back in the action, and as you can see, this is part 3.2 of my University Life. I did say on the last video that, or I'd at least put it down on the comments, or the whatever it is that you put down everything to explain it. I can't remember right now, but that I would put in some of my work. I would display some of my pieces, which I'm going to show bit by bit. And I'm going to wait for the first minute to show, and I'm going to talk about each one up to 30 seconds. But my overall thoughts are, this is all the design work that I have fully completed. I'm going to show some extra images, and I'll explain that, because we're actually not making a final piece for this unit, but for the technical thing, we are making a little mini drape for all the technical side of the work. But I'm close to getting that complete. Okay, I've just waited for the minute. Now the first piece you see here is the introduction board I've made, putting basically all my work in. Now my primary research had to be on this garden area within the area I am at university, and also I had to select a film that a film of my choosing, and I chose the film Castle in the Skies, which for those who don't know is an animated film by the Japanese studio, and it was actually the first ever animated film I ever watched. I'll actually do up to a minute. And I decided to connect that connection to nature while also looking at the culture of Japan and both steampunk based on the technology and the ideas of using natural dyes and natural fabrics to produce the pieces, which would make the piece very sustainable. Now for page 2, we have the research area. Now this is where I did all the research, as I said. I researched the cultures. I researched ancient Japan culture, so I looked at the fashion, the colours that were used for what and represent. So yellow meaning nobility, and purple being the rarest colour in ancient Japan because it was a colour of royalty, even in the medieval period, because it was a harder dye to manufacture. Or produce, I should say. I also looked at steampunk based on the technology of the film, but I also looked into natural fabrics and natural dyes, and also creating samples of the natural dyes myself. But I also did a little extra bits of research as well, so I could meet it back to my primary, my secondary, and extra research. So then there was that connection, there was communication, there's communication linking all my research together, which would be very beneficial. Now for the third one, these are my design developments that were done. Now taking sections of the images using horizontal, vertical, random patterning, basically anything, mishmashing from both my primary, my secondary, my research images and everything else to develop pieces. Then develop them further into design development pieces, and I decided to select 10 final pieces. Now, 6 of them I had to make my final 6 lineup, and I'll show them and I'll explain a little further about them. But I also chose some as accessories for purpose, just because they did look quite nice for secondary pieces more than primary. But for the final 6. But more importantly, I really experimented and had to learn different methods to develop designs further. Now for the fourth one here, this is my drape design developments. So for those who don't know, draping is where you take a long piece of fabric and you can develop it and manipulate it into pieces. Now we're doing this for the technical work. We're taking fabric, making shapes and forms, we take pictures, we document everything like you're supposed to. But then for the final one, we're developing our own drape. We make it any way we want by taking it off, making the cuts and the lining. We then take a pattern to copy it. Then we finalise the pattern. Then we actually make it again. So the calico one that we make is a rough draft of it, which is really, it's really nice to do, and it's probably something I won't need to do for a cosplay maker, but it's something I would still like to know just in case if there are any pieces that could require me to do drapes in the future. Now, For this one, this is, which one was this one be? This would be my final 6 lineup. And for the final 6 lineup, I chose these ones. Now, the final one I chose was the first one. That would be, if I'm showing the image, it should be on this one, the pink and the reddish pink one. Now, this one was chosen because I believe it connects more to my custom character, because in costume courses you have to create a custom character, have a story that connects to the story that you're using, and explain why. But more importantly, I needed a costume that represents the culture, represents the ideas of that. Now, I chose pinks because pinks are actually a common colour in Japan, according to my research, for the springtime, so I wanted to keep that connection to Japan culture. And the little details you see is my own logo, my own custom logo that's been done. And that's the next one that's going to be shown right now on 6 minutes. Right here. Now, this one I had to use all my primary, my secondary and all my detailed images, so I could gather everything and figure out like how to do my own custom print using details and using things that I've developed. So there's no copywriting, so like this is my print, this is unique to my design. Now, for the final ones that you see on the third ones down, those were my final prints I developed, but then I decided to refine it a little more. Then I refined it again to make it look a bit more cleaner, more like print coloured, which I think looked a lot better. And for the top one you'll see, that's actually been refined a lot. It's actually been more, that's a piece like a kimono, which has then had the print placed on it, which really looks good. I think it really suits. I even did live images thanks to some friends who were able to do a projector for me to see how it looked on their bodies, and it looked really well. It worked with the white fabric really well. Now, this one is the final was the character's outfit breakdown. aka, for those who are wondering what that means, it basically means this is me explaining the outfit a little more. The piece itself is in the character's story is actually been modified from an old kimono, so it has pleats and gathers to fit more comfortably based on the character's lifestyle now. So, and her, by the way, I took inspiration from her styles from sketches. The figure I did myself. The eyes I designed myself along with the shoes. But that's going to be on the final breakdown, which you'll see. But most important, it was I needed to make sure my work did well, and I wanted to make this character look a little more well presentable and more detailed in the face, so it looked a little more realistic. That's always been my problem. Now, this is my final image for the portfolio work, and this one is on the breakdown. So as you see, there's 2 different types. There's black and white, then there's the coloured ones. That's explaining like the little things. Like I wanted to do that so it looked so it brought down the details a little more. And it explains like the shoulders here and the waist here would be pleated up, so folds, and then the shoulders would have gathers on them, including the pants accessories that she would wear, along with an overlapped piece for the knees, which would be overlapped on. Now, what made this one really good, that I was able to put in 2 of my 2 final pieces, but I made them as a full outfit. And I explained on a board with the final ones that this would add more as an accessory. Now, this image I want you to look at, this is the final drape that I'm doing. Now, I've done this by using natural dyes and just using calico, since it's only a mini mannequin that we're using. I don't need to use any special fabrics. But I did explain what fabrics I would use, what natural dyes I would use if I was to do a final drape. Now, the yellow is done by a turmeric, and this is literally you boil 2 bits of turmeric with water. It's really easy. You can do it in a frying pan even. And the long piece, that is actually blackberry. Blackberry produces like a more reddish pink shade, and raspberry is more pink as you can imagine. But this is important to understand, and I actually have a little notebook that tells me about these natural fabrics and natural dyes, because I'm going to experiment and do this more with certain materials and more pieces, so I don't have to buy the bleached ones, to be more eco-friendly and sustainable. Now, We're up to 10 minutes. And for this last minute, I want to say, like, I've really enjoyed this course really much. Because with this one, now that this is my final one, I'll be going home soon around early June. I'll be heading back home. I pushed myself with this one. I really wanted to push myself to the limits to see how far I could go, how much extra work I can do. And I've done a lot of extra work to do this. But with this one specifically, I had to travel, and I'm not good with travelling new places on my own. But with this one, I was able to do that more easier. I was able to gain actually a bit more confidence in myself to do it. Like some people tell you with autism, they have trouble navigating. I'm a bit like that. But with this one, I did have friends to help me in the beginning, but I had to make my own way back home, which I didn't like, really, because the bus system here is a bit different from mine. I never knew, no one told me this, but I'm happy that I was able to do this, and I was able to gain more independence, and I was able to get a bit more confidence. And ironically, during the Easter holidays, my family are actually coming down. All my family are coming down to visit. We're going to spend 2 days. They're going to spend the 2 days with me and all, to just venture around the area, and we're just going to go shopping, do whatever, and probably grab a bite to eat, you know, like family stuff. But comment down below, like, your thoughts. No one really comments on these, and that's fine if you don't want to comment down, but I would be nice to hear your thoughts on, like, what you think of my work, because I'll be starting level 5 next year, and which will be September, and that's going to be interesting. And I'm also going back to my college to talk to some of the students, actually. I talk to them about uni life and tell them how, and like I've done with these videos, show bits of my work and just tell them how it's felt for me as someone who came from that college to develop this far further. So until then, this is Captain Phoenix, over and out.